Howdy, partners. Welcome back to some rootin' tootin' flying lead nightmare. We're going into Saturday here.
Amazing.
I shrewdly, previous Dave, had ordered himself a meal ticket.
Oh, nice.
So 30 quid, you get fed breakfast, lunch and dinner. And I think breakfast on the Sunday. It was breakfast on the Sunday, definitely. Best decision previous Dave. I usually curse previous Dave, but present Dave, now past Dave, was very a big fan of past Dave. Like that was well done, buddy. Had a proper like little fry up in the morning, exactly what you need to start the day, basically. Did my usual.
I think
food, caffeine.
Yeah, it's a different thing when, like, for example, when we go to Empire, we're a big group. We can do the communal cooking together. We can have a setup where we can make things work. I think when you go in a more limited capacity, I think then things like that really do pan out quite well.
But also, one thing I have to say is they did a really good job in letting you know.
Yeah.
Now's lunchtime.
Right.
Now's dinner time.
Right.
So you're not feeling like, you know, at Empire where you're like...
Yeah, you just have to fit it in.
At Empire, it's just like, especially now I've got a hat at Empire, I'm like, fuck, like, unless food is ready, I got to go, right? So, like, for me at Empire recently, like, the food vendors are way easier to do it.
That's true, actually.
Whereas having, like, set times for people, if you are, like, camping by yourself or whatever, or not got a meal ticket, get a fire going, cook some chow, like, you're good to go for the rest of the afternoon. Really, really good. I think that's having like known understanding breaks and stuff is really important to last, because it's a hell of a day. Had poop. You know,
you got to get all those things.
You gotta eat, caffeine, poop, get that in. That's how champions LARP. Do you know what I mean? Like, that's how you do it.
Sort your business out.
Sort your business out. We're hanging around at the town in the morning, and we hear that there are some bandits outside of town.
Okay.
And the marshal's like, "Hey, I need to go and get myself a posse, and we're going to go after these bandits that are out there, right?" So I'm like, "Cool. Like, are we getting paid for this, Marshal?" And he'll be like, "Oh yeah, we'll work that out when we get back," type thing. I'm like, "Son of a bitch." So we head out there. Obviously, going to go out for a bit of a morning shootout. Do you know what I mean?
So this is the first time you've used your guns this event?
Yes.
Is this actually like... Because obviously you've had your guns for a while, but you haven't got to sort of use them that much.
I test fired them on the Friday to make sure they worked. What was the company called? Something... Packing Iron. Yeah. Packing Iron was the company I got my guns off. I had a really good relationship with the guy that sold the guns, very honest about everything up front. Even gave me a discount because I bought two, got some ammo for it, all really good. Had a bit of a practice with my guns. They worked great. Loud. Holy shit, loud. And there was a whole bunch. One guy had like one of those, you know, the
Winchester kind of.
The Winchester with the underslung reload on the rifle. Fuck, that was loud. But like, most people were packing heat, right? Very loud. When it kicks off, you know about it, okay? We head down. Let's go and see these fucking bandits, okay? Walk down a little line, start heading towards this camp area down in the gully, and these people come out, and they've got these, like, arrow tattoos on their faces.
Okay.
And I'm like, oh, arrow tattoos. And we're kind of staying at the back. And bear in mind, I'm like, I don't know how much ammo I'm going to need this weekend. So for the first shootout, I was like, let's kind of hang out around the back.
Sure.
See what's going on. There was a bit of back and forth, bit of conversation. Guns were then drawn. People got shot. Okay? Like, so a bunch of us on there was a path heading down, and then that was where they were at the end. And then we were kind of on the left bank of this hill, and a bunch of people go around the left, and they put up smoke around the top, okay? And the smoke was like a barrier.
Sure.
So you can go through the smoke. And I thought this was a really good thing for like out of bounds things, because the smoke was like, hey, don't go past the smoke. It's like, sweet, that makes sense. We got big shootout, had to withdraw, bit of a chaotic withdrawal. They kept on coming at us through the woods. There is something really funny, which is, so when you're firing these blank fires, obviously not, you're firing a BB, so people don't know they're being hit. So generally the etiquette is you yell something like, hey, you in the red coat.
Yeah.
Bang.
Right, okay. Yeah.
Some of the calls were just so funny. Like, hey, you in the hat.
Right, okay.
You in the hat is hilarious because there wasn't a person there that was not wearing a hat.
Sure.
Okay, it was just like, oh, it's so good.
Yeah.
You with the pistol is another good one. Everyone had pistols, right?
Yeah.
Like, I'm just as guilty, but it was really funny hearing.
It must be hard, actually, in the adrenaline moment to think of something and
massively.
And, it's not easy.
I found a very sharp hey, but then I also realised, like, at a certain range, like, people just don't see you.
Yeah.
Like, they're just not going to. So, I tend to not blast away at long ranges unless I kind of get the attention of someone, then I'll take a crack at them or whatever. We kind of left under fire from this. They kind of chased after us, and we killed a few, and then a few people got shot, and generally like a bit of shenanigans. Back in the camp, now I can't remember when this happened, but basically Antonio was mortally wounded by a group called the Second Coming.
Okay.
So me and Antonio do not have the most amount of time for like obscure culty type people, okay?
Okay.
And this like friar came along, it's like monk, and he was talking about how they're up at the cathedral and there was some shady shit going on, and like Antonio,
are you talking? Sorry, in the regular flying lead, he was killed by the Second Coming.
He was killed by the Second Coming,
and that's why in the nightmare realm you don't have this.
We don't, but we also don't
know about that past events.
No, but we don't. Well, he was still shot by the Second Coming,
right?
So we still don't like. But he was almost killed by the Second Coming. Okay, so we don't like them anyway.
Sure.
So we're talking to this guy, and he's like, yeah, I'm up at the monastery type thing. It's like, oh, mind if we walk you back or whatever? And he's like, yeah, sure. And so we walk outside of the camp, and then he turns around and goes, hey, I can't walk you any further, guys. Like, this is it. And then Antonio just turns around and goes, hey, we were just going to shoot you anyway. And I was like, what? I was like, yeah. It was just like, that's murder, right? And I'm like, yep. And it was just like, I'll say like, oh, yeah, just as soon as you walk out of the town a little way, I pull my gun and shoot you in the back of the head. And
right.
He's like, okay, just let a round off so you did it and get on with the rest of your day type thing. So I pulled my pistol out, fired at the ground, and then me and Antonio walked back to the town.
Amazing.
We don't have time for culty types, man.
Yeah.
So murdering a guy in the bushes, fair play.
Incredible. That's great.
So then we head back to the camp. There is weird stuff starts generally happening. Okay, I wasn't involved in this, but I know that the blacksmith was doing some crazy shit. Okay. So we hear that there's a bandit camp up on the hill, and we all set off to go and deal with this this bandit camp. Okay. So we head up there. There's guys on the top of the hill in a bandit camp. They're kind of hanging out, and basically we storm it, do some blasting. You know what I mean? Shoot all the guys. And then, bear in mind, this is all from my perspective. I don't know exactly what happened. In fact, this is funny. I messaged the EYELarp people, and we're like, hey, do you have a copy of the events and the order in which things happened?
Yeah.
And then I fought against it by the time they replied. And actually, I was like, don't worry. It's better that I just give my version of it.
Yeah, I think that's actually
patchy and broken and all that stuff, because you really have to go and experience these events. I think it would be a shame if I just told you verbatim what happened. Yes. I think it's very much like having the... Anyway. Yeah. As we're heading back, one of the guys, that the marshal, has got an axe in his back, and he's like, oh, Doc, just pull it out type thing. And they're like, oh yeah, we try and pull it out. And then we're like, we got to keep moving. So then they were like, got the axe out, and it was gushing blood. And they were like, oh, we have to put the axe back in. Jeez. Shoving the old axe back in to stop the bleeding, and off we went type thing. Lots of people bleeding, having a good time. Just amazing. So good. Having a really good time. Then Taffy, we get back. And Taffy starts acting a little weird.
Okay.
He's saying, oh, my friends, it's so good to see you. And he's wanting to hug everyone. Right. And we're already like, keep your fucking distance, Taffy.
Yeah.
What the fuck is this about? He's like, well, I'm just being I'm just, showing love to my friends, and it's just like, everyone's like looking at each other like, what the fuck is up with Taffy type thing? That's very strange. We then head out again, and there's like, we're walking down, the location is in these woods, okay, and some of the paths go through these like heavy bush areas where you can't really see what's going on either side. And we hear that there's a guy there who can take us to go and find someone that can help with all of this at the monastery.
Right.
So we're like following them and walking along. And then we go through this one path, and there's like thick bushes either side of us. And then there's like a flash of movement to my right, and then bam, 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 and they ambush us, and they're all in the bushes. So I, with this other guy, duck into the bushes, and I'm like trying to like shoot, and then they retreat away type thing, the ambushes. And it's like really fucking tense because you're in the bushes and you're like don't know whether you're going to get shot by your own side, and envy like the way the bushes move, you're not sure whether something's movement or whatever. So they all fuck off. We come back out and I see Antonio's been hit,
right,
and he's like he's having problem breathing. I'm just like, oh my god. So I'm just like, I'm gonna get you back. And so I take him over my shoulder and I lead him back to the town type thing, and I'm yelling, someone get me a doctor, someone get me a doctor. And I go into the church, I lay him down on a pew, and he's like struggling to breathe, and I'm like, get a doctor, get a doctor. This one doctor comes up and he's just like, oh, I'm afraid your friend's been shot in the lung, there's nothing I can do. And I'm just like, get away from me, I need a proper fucking doctor here, And then Dr. Matt comes up and is just like, does the old the pen, like the where you push it into the chest,
yeah,
and it like relieves the compression on the chest or whatever, and it helps it expand again. Fucking great RP, really fucking good. Like Hennessy is not chill about the idea of losing Antonio. Especially again, right? But really good. Oh, that doctor was called Dr. Barnabas Belvedere, which was he was also the guy that was trying to sell the fucking potion the night before.
Nice, amazing.
So he's like a weird like kind of doctor, kind of
charlatan,
charlatan, like really, really good. At some point, I think it's at that point, we find out that my lawyer, the wonderful Mr. Dubois, has been killed.
No!
So he's lying on the fucking bench, and I'm like, Jesus Christ, like, how the fuck am I going to find another lawyer now? Really cool. I love Mr. Dubois. Like Hennessy and Mr. Dubois get on. Like we didn't like each other at the start, and like now we really like each other.
The storyline that developed, and this is really do go back and listen to the first episode for Flying Lead, because I think the storyline with Hennessy and Mr. Dubois was really, really cool. Really,
and then he's dead.
Yeah. Wow.
So me, Sergeant Cole, and Antonio. I think the doc was there as well, or whoever else was there. But we took him out the back of the town, and we buried him.
Oh.
And it was like, maybe one of us should say a few words, like that proper cowboy burying a guy, but none of us are religious folk.
Yeah.
Really fun, good. Oh, another cool thing was, when Antonio was injured, we drag him in, it's like, there's nothing I can do for him, and it's like, someone get a priest and like to read him the last rites,
right?
And I'm like, get the fuck away from him! You don't want that. You don't want that.
Wow, that's good. Really cool. Very dramatic.
Very dramatic. Like really, what you want of those little RP moments of like where you get to expand on characters, and like Antonio's like basically, he told me after Flying Ned that he was like into like there was around that time in history there was like Spanish anarchism,
right?
So I like the idea that like, in this timeline, Antonio had a chance to kind of like give Hennessy some literature on anarchism and power structures and how like people should be free to make their own decisions rather than having top-down power over them and stuff, right? Like, really cool. So this was all part of it, right? Mr. Dubois dying was fucking awful. But this is not the end of Mr. Dubois. He will come back later.
Interesting.
So there's this guy called Leon, okay? Right. And he starts acting real weird. He's like shivering and stuff.
Is this kind of weird in the same way Taffy was acting weird?
A lot of weird's happening in this town, dude.
Okay.
A lot of weird. So we're like, hey, what's wrong with you? He says, I'm fine. I'm fucking fine. And I was just like, why'd you keep your distance there, friend? If you come near me, I'm going to put a bullet in your head. You know what I mean? Like, and this guy's like being ostracized and he's shivering and it's all fucking... Like, the town already, it's still really early and the town is already turning into a very paranoid, weird place with lots of weird goings on. I should have mentioned the blacksmith. The blacksmith, I think, was killed... And then they did an exorcism on him, or they did an exorcism on and then killed him. It's really hard to tell what the fuck happened.
Interesting.
And they found like this golden skull, another golden skull.
Okay.
And they found a golden skull at the camp that we raided as well.
Okay.
They also found like some papers.
Okay.
And these papers had like demonic symbols and runes on them and names on them.
Okay.
Okay. And these names were like related to like some sort of sin, okay? And it's all like everyone's kind of figuring this out, pulling a bit of information, and like everyone's getting a bit paranoid, like no one steal it, no one touch it, you know, like these skulls are appearing, these text documents are appearing, all very interesting. So then everyone's starting to be a little bit freaked out, and then these people come out from the path out of town. And they're all like, just like these villagers, okay? And we're like, hey, you, hold on right there. Hold on, you got any weapons on you? Yeah. And it's just like, you put your weapons on the floor. So one guy like had like a tiny little knife and he put that on the ground and these people are unarmed, okay?
Okay.
And they're like, please, we're so hungry. Please, we've got no food or water. Please help us. And we're like, where'd you come from? And they're like, oh, the town up the way type thing. And we're like... So I go forward and Antonio goes forward as well and we're like trying to help them and being like, hey, what's up type thing. And it's like, we're just so hungry. And I'm like, what happened to all your food? And they're like, oh, we ate it and there's no food left. And we're like, this is where I should have like, but I'm like, the characters don't know they're in a horror movie.
Right.
Okay.
Of
so
course.
this is important that you have to kind of like at a certain level, hey, there's some hungry people showed up.
Yeah.
We should probably help these people. And like, let them in the town. It's fine. And then we go off again for another thing. But just as we're going down the hill, we hear from the town, shots go off.
Okay.
And we're like, we got to get back there. So we basically just turn around and run all the way back. Okay. Oh, my lungs are doing well, by the way. Nice. I can actually run now.
Logistically, because I remember last time you explained it that there was like walking into town meant you actually had to go through this trail. Is it kind of similar to that now?
We're not in Viking where we were last time. We're actually in the main town itself.
Okay.
So, and I was camping in a tent this time. Some people got cabins, but it was interesting. They swapped them over, so the player area was inside the main cowboy town.
Okay.
But it was still the way you got to the other place was still
walking this trail.
Big route, which basically was like you walk through a bunch of paths. Then you get to a giant fort. Then you go down into a valley. Then you have to head back up through some paths, and then you get to Viking Village. Okay, so it's quite it's a fair walk.
And is there still the option to take the carriage? Because I know that was a thing in the previous thing, or is that doesn't exist?
Okay, it didn't come up, but they were basically just like, if you have walking issues, and do this. Like there was some stuff for it.
Okay.
We did a lot of walking this weekend.
Sure.
So we run back to the town. Whatever was happening there was over by the time we got there. I don't know what happened. That might have been the blacksmith. I don't know. Okay? Like, that wasn't something I was involved.
But more paranoia.
Everyone is freaky deaky at this stage. Like, people are starting to act weird. Callum's acting really fucking weird. Very strange. I'll mention it because it is like part of it. Callum kept robbing the bar.
Okay.
He just kept on, every time that the bar was empty, he would just go behind the bar and take all the cash and come back. Okay?
Wow.
He just kept doing this over and over again, stealing all the cash and then coming back and being like, hey, I'm doing okay for money, because everyone's like asking like, how's bullets? You know, how's money? He's like, I've got loads of money, you know? So he's gathering all this cash together. And then there's this the actual town itself gets attacked by bandits, okay? And there's a big shootout in the thing, and I'm in the bar, and there's like, they come around the back of the bar and are trying to come through. Now what's weird is you're not supposed to fire your guns indoors.
Okay.
So really, really loud.
Right.
So by being in the bar, we are at a disadvantage because we can't shoot out, okay?
Right.
It's really funny, like, what's her name? Nora was sitting at the bar with me. She jumped underneath that table so fucking fast. It was like she was there and then poof, she was. I was like, where the fuck is she? She was like, oh, she's under the table. A gentleman, and I'm not giving this guy shit at all, fired his gun out the back.
Right.
It's so easy to forget what's happening.
I think because it's a big Western trope, right?
Yep.
And it's like. And when adrenaline goes, and you can kind of, I think, like when you're watching LARP, you often see things where people do stuff, and you can tell when it's moments where it's just like the moment kind of gets carried away. Right?
Yep,
and you can
absolutely.
kind of see that, and there's a difference when you see like rule violations and things happen that you can kind of you can see why it happened that way.
It could have happened to anyone. That player will never do it again. No one in the building will ever do it.
Yeah.
Because, like, you just need to have that happen to you once, and it was just like, fuck my ass. That shit is loud, right?
Did you wear any ear protection or anything like that?
So, I had earplugs with me. Right. I bought, like, a big fucking, like, there's like 200 or something in a pack, and I bought, like, some. Mainly for going to sleep at Empire.
Right.
And other LARPs, right?
Yeah,
have an eye mask and earplugs helps you sleep a lot.
I find that's a massive help.
Massive, dude.
Yeah.
And basically, I had handed them out to a few people that I knew.
Right.
Throughout the event, I realised how few people had ear defenders. So later on, by the evening, I was literally going around and just being like, who needs earplugs? Right? Like, because I forgot to put my earplugs in a couple of times, because it's like sometimes you don't know it's going to kick off.
Sure, yeah. Right.
So like the bars are a good example. I didn't have my ear defenders in. Like I didn't have any earplugs in. These are just the squishy disposable.
Yeah, the foam ones, right?
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, very loud, something to be careful of. I actually made a little mistake later on, which I'll tell you about. So definitely, this is not. I'm certainly not a perfect player. We then had lunch, which was fucking delicious. It was like a really nice stew, had some fried bread with it. Oh my god, even at this stage, lunch, I was like, oh my god, it's heavenly eating. Like hot food and just not having to fuck around was like the best. And also they definitely know what they're doing when it comes to cuisine, that's for sure.
What was the weather like at this point? Was it raining at this point? Or?
So it warmed up a lot. In fact, one of the things was I was often very hot because when you're running around and you're wearing so many layers. Right? But the rain itself, I only knew it was raining because it touched my hands.
Right.
The cowboy hat and this long trench coat type thing I was wearing
took the brunt of it, right? Just
awesome, dude. Like I want to wear a cowboy hat and a trench coat all the time because shit is like the best thing.
Is it like is it fabric or is it like a leather kind of trench coat? It's fabric. Right,
yeah, leather might be
like a jacket kind of.
It's a bit like I don't know how to describe it. It's
like
probably
one off
a design
Tombstone and sort of style.
Yes, that was the kind of general impression. If you're a costumer, then you'll probably be like, no, that is not what it is. It felt that way and worked that way, right? Like, and no one was like fashion police going around being like, hey, this isn't.
It's an approach towards the vibe, right?
It had buttons instead of zips.
Right.
So I think that's a good thing. I think zips, I deliberately tried to avoid everything with actual zips because I feel buttons feel more in fitting. I don't even know if that's true. I don't know if they had zips back then or whether they were widespread, but that was just my feeling on it. So we started finding all these notes. These notes start to correlate to demons' names. Okay. And there starts to be this idea of that, what about if they represent the 7 deadly sins?
Okay.
We had sloth in the morning, and that was who the blacksmith was. The hungry people showed up. It's like greed, right? And we're all like, well, this is very interesting. This is all kind of starting to kick off. Now Callum had come up to me earlier in the day as an OC moment and been like, I'm a demon. And I'm like, what? He's like, yeah. I basically, because he only had 3 cards, there was someone going around sprinkling stuff on people's shoulders, and every time you got something sprinkled on you, you lost a life.
Right.
And basically, whoever was doing this, there must have been multiple people, but they did loads to Callum, and by, I think on Friday he was already dead. Okay.
Wow. Okay. Right.
So he reads his card, and Callum Taffy is a greed demon.
Amazing.
So his card was like, he's very protective of his friends. He doesn't want other people talking to them. He wants to collect loads of wealth. So that's why he was going around and just stealing loads of stuff.
Amazing.
But because I knew I didn't want to lead the RP on rumbling him and trying to give an exorcism.
Yeah.
So basically I spoke to, my name's out, Mordecai Black.
Right.
And he starts going like, there's something up with Taffy. I'm like, what do you think it is? And it's like, maybe he's possessed. I'm like, really?
Yeah.
But by which deadly sin? And he was like, greed. And I'm like, agreed. And once like that happened, I was
then
like,
you're okay with it,
green
right?
light.
Yeah,
so I was just like, excuse me, sister, could I have a word with you? And we're in the church and I was hanging out, and like this nun comes over and I go like, listen, can you do exorcisms? And she was like, yeah, I can. What's up? And we're trying to keep our voices down because like Taffy's a couple of seats over.
Right.
I'm like, we believe that this person may be possessed by the greed demon. And we're like, we have to get his name right. So we tell the name. I can't remember, Golok or whatever, something like that was the demon's name. And we're like, okay, let's do this. And like, start coming up and start talking to Taffy. And Taffy's like, having none of this, okay? As soon as he realises that the net's starting to close in, he's like, he gets up and starts walking out of the church, okay? Yeah. So I pull my gun.
Amazing.
Okay? I'm like, Taffy, you take one more step, I'm going to shoot you in the leg. And like, Father Valentine is yelling at me not to spill blood
in a
house of God.
Yeah, amazing.
Like, you look after your own stuff there, Father. You look after your own business, Father. I'm looking after mine, you know? And it's like, Taffy, you stop right there, I'll shoot you. And then Taffy carries on moving, so I'm like, and I'm like, bang! Taffy doesn't flinch. He just turns around, draws his pistol, and I shoot him again, okay? And nothing happens, right? He's invincible. And then he pulls out his gun and just shoots me. And I'm like, ugh! And I take like a gut shot and go down. And then, so I have to get, obviously, like, patched up, which I'm kind of annoyed about Callum, because I wanted to see what happened next. I caught the tail end, the best part of what happened, but I didn't get to see all of it.
Sure.
Which was Callum being exorcised by Father Valentine. And, like, Father Valentine's top drawer, Taffy's top drawer, and, like, he's hurling like religious text at the demon, and the demon's like laughing and like telling them that you're all greedy and greed is good, quoting Wall Street and shit like that, like fucking so good. And it was like the whole town's like watching this exorcism happen, and like fucking that son of a bitch Taffy dumped all of his money out on the floor, and then the entire town just grabbed all the money. They stole all the money that was on the ground. Those
God, so good.
So I wanted that money. But yeah, they exorcise Taffy.
Right.
Okay. Taffy seems fine. He comes back and he's like, "What the hell happened?" type thing. And I'm just like, "Oh, right." And then he's like, "Did you try and shoot me?" And it's like, "You did shoot me." And it's just like, we talk to the Martian, and it's just like, he's like, "I want to press charges." And I'm just like, if he's going to press charges, I want to press charges type thing. And we're like yelling at each other and just carrying on. At this point, someone's like, we know now there are demons among us, and things are kicking off.
Yeah, right.
So
there's no more denying it, right?
Marshall's like, hey, why don't we deputize you and Antonio? Because you seem pretty stand-up guys, right?
Right.
I'm like, maybe. And then Antonio's like, no, Hennessy, no. And it's just like, oh yeah, the hierarchies of power stuff. No, we're going to have to pass, I'm afraid, because we don't respect the hierarchies of power, so we refuse to be deputized. Which was a cool moment, right?
Yeah,
like,
that's cool.
Yeah, really fun. So then we hear that there is a monastery where something's going on. Again, I have no fucking clue why we were going to the monastery. We were going to learn something at the monastery. This is still daylight at this stage. We walk all the way to the monastery, okay? And then when we get there, we're like sneaking up on the monastery, and one of the refs is going to me, that ring around the entrance, it's like a big fort area, okay? That entrance to the town, it says Viking, okay, the town, if you know it.
Yeah.
It's like a palisade and a bunch of walls and a big gate that's open. And he says, that ring that goes around, that is brimstone. If you cross that, it costs you a card.
Interesting.
So I'm like, okay. So I head up there, and there's like someone being tortured or someone being attacked on the ground. So I step out, I'm like, hey, you son of a bitch. And I'm like, bam, 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 you know, like blasting away.
You have two guns out at this point.
Yeah. And this is where I fucked up, okay? This is where I fired my pistol too close to someone who was on the side of me. I was too busy looking forward. I didn't see the guy moving up beside me, or maybe he was already there. I don't know.
Right.
But I fired, and he got a discharge on his face. Okay.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, he was fine, but like that was my bad. I apologise to that player profusely. I did at the time, but it's like it shows how easy it is to do, and how like. I hate the fact is that I had to learn that lesson by that moment. Sure. I hope the player's fine. I think they are, but it was like one of those things where it's just like, and this happened quite a lot. Like a few players had this happen to them. A few players had this happen to them. It's something. If you're going to use blank firers, don't be like me. Be smart.
Right.
Make sure what you're doing is safe. So yeah, massive apologies to that player. But again, we try and be honest on this podcast and trying to own up to stuff when we fuck up. That was definitely a fuck up. So I blast away a bit, and then I go to reload, and then they all start charging out with axes and all sorts of stuff, and there's like the panic and everything's going on. By the time I get back into the fight after reloading, there is Sergeant Cole he charges over the brimstone line, followed by Antonio, followed by Dr. Mac, okay?
Right.
And I'm like, I'm not.
You gotta go.
I gotta go.
You got loads of cards, Dave.
I've got loads of cards. Exactly my 14. I have loads of cards. Let's fucking go. So I step across. You don't have to rip them up straight away. Within half an hour is fine. Just keep the RP going and just keep an eye on it. So I head in there. Cole has been fucked up. He's on the ground. He's bleeding profusely. Like lots of fake blood going on. Sergeant Mac's trying to sort him out. Antonio's trying to help, and then this guy comes out with this big fucking axe, and this guy, by the way, was awesome. I don't know who was this guy. He had a big axe, and I killed this guy a few times over the weekend. His crazy cultist RP, like massive shout out to this guy. He had shoulder length hair, quite a tall guy, but like I loved killing this guy. Like he's just the best. So he comes running towards me. I give him the old blast, okay?
Right.
And then I'm like, you have to shoot within, if they get within 3 meters, I can't shoot, okay?
Right.
So he's running towards me. I'm just like, what the fuck am I going to do? I'm just like, I got to go. So I literally just bolted off and ran with him chasing me, okay? And I'm like, I managed to keep him at a distance. So as I turned, I fired again, and then I stop. He stops in front of me, and I'm just like, "Why won't you die, you son of a bitch?" While I hold my pistol out, and I fire, and then he steps forward and goes, and then just collapses down. It was just like, that's so good. Like I didn't know whether I was going to have to keep on blasting. I don't know how many bullets I've got. Like so good. Yeah. I cut his head off, and then
how does melee weapons stack up against stuff? I mean, are you like boned if you don't have like
had
a gun or
a Bowie knife,
right?
And I would say a lot of the enemies were very heavily melee based. If it takes 3 shots to down someone, it becomes more and more imperative that you have hand-to-hand weapons. I'm very glad I bought a hand-to-hand weapon. Right. I think both is optimal.
Did you have to use it at any point, or?
Oh yeah.
We're gonna get to this.
Yeah. I definitely had to use it.
Okay.
But the shout out to that player again. Like that
sounds so member. Good.
So I run back and I find out that Sergeant Cole has had his tongue bitten off or taken away by a demon. Okay? He's spitting blood. He can't speak. He's fucked up.
Wow.
And I'm like, we gotta get him back to town. And they're like, so I grab him over my shoulder, and the doctor's trying to take him as well, and we leave him out of town. And then he collapses as we're leaving the kind of area where the thing is, and he's like crying and carrying on, but we can't understand him because he's lost his tongue. This is pretty dark, I ask him if he wants the gun.
Right.
Like, is this what you want? He's like, no. And it's like, okay. So I like, but Dr. Mac was like, Jesus Christ. Like, Henry's the sort of guy that's just like, hey, sometimes if a guy's suffering, you got to ask the question, you know? Yeah. So I lead Sergeant Cole back, and the entire way back from the monastery, which is the furthest point you can get to pretty much, walk all the way back, I'm just whispering words of encouragement. I'm just going, you're going to be okay. You're going to be okay. It's going to be okay, Cole. Everything's going to be fine. Yeah. You know, like I'm saying to him, you're going to have to go write a book, man. Like, how I got a shot 100 times and survived. And it's going to be a best-selling book, man. But I'm going to need some royalties. And I'm like, I'm constantly talking to him. Yeah. And it's like, it was so intense. Because he's crying and bleeding. And he's lost his fucking tongue. And it's fucking awful. Okay? Yeah. Like, it's really awful. So we get him back to the town. And the town's completely empty. Like, everyone's gone to the monastery. Also, on the walk back, it kind of goes from like day, dusk, and night. In the UK, by the way, if you live in North America, it gets dark here real fucking early, especially in the winter. So it must have been about 4 or 5 o'clock. Yeah. So it's pretty much dark by the time that we get back. Mm. I put him over a bench, and like I'm like, get to work, Doc. And the doctor's like trying to fucking stitch his chest up and his stomach up. And it's like he's in agony, and he's just like, and the doc's like, Cole, I'm gonna have to see your tongue. Like, you have to open your mouth and let me see. And like Cole opens his mouth, and it's like literally he's had his tongue ripped out or whatever.
Wow. Okay.
So then she has to put he has to put balm on there, and it was just like, oh my god, dude, like. It was so fucking intense. Yeah. Like, there was a couple other people there, but it was like holding his hand, going through all this stuff. It was so intense. And then after the medical stuff was all sorted, he kind of like lies down and kind of like rests a bit, and I'm gonna get him some water. And then I go outside, and I'm like, Doc's out there, and I'm just like, we're like shell shocked. We're like completely shell shocked. And I give the doctor a big hug, and like good job, Doc. Good job. Yeah. And it was just like crazy intense.
yeah, dude.
So Sergeant Goodspring, who is the kind of one of the commanding officers of the cavalry, there were a few cavalry people there. He's like talking to him and talking about how Cole can still be a cavalryman. Mm. And he's like, be damned with what the major says. Like, you're still a cavalryman. Like, we'll work something out. Yeah. It's just like, you know. But there's always this like horrible thing about the fact is that he doesn't have a tongue. Can he even be a cavalryman at this stage? You know.
Right.
So I say to Cole, like Cole, if you want to, why don't you come and live with me, Antonio? Yeah. Right. Like, we can live together. Yeah, fine, and this like wonderful like vision of the future. Yeah. And even now we know this is damned, right? Like,
right. Yeah. Of course,
right? Yeah. Like but it's like this idea that Cole and Antonio and Hennessy can all have their own little farmstead and live happily ever after. And
that's
like
cool.
This idea, right? And Cole started drawing diagrams on the bench in front of him, explaining what was happening. Obviously this is very hard because it's basically Pictionary. Yeah. And basically what happened was Cole had wanted the mayor to die and wanted to be in the cavalry forever. And a demon had put a bullet in his drink without him realizing.
Right.
And so effectively Cole had made a deal with this demon.
Right.
And that's why he took his tongue as like payment for it type thing.
Right.
And the mayor's dead.
Right.
So he killed the mayor, and now he gets to be in the cavalry, right?
Right.
And like Sergeant Goodspring was like, hey, we'll promote you, it's okay, you know, like you don't have to leave the cavalry. And it was really bad. And I said to Antonio, like, when Antonio came back, I was just like, hey, I said to him, like, it would be fine if he came and lived with us. I hope that's okay with you. And Antonio was like, of course, yeah. It was all really fucking nice. But then we started hearing that on the way back, the devil was at the crossroads.
What?
The devil himself
Was at the crossroads.
was at the crossroads.
Right.
And this devil was a dapperly dressed gentleman and was whistling and like kind of trying to talk to people. And everyone was like, no, thank you, good day. You know, like trying to get past the devil, right? And basically what was the kind of gist of things was that a gate to hell had been opened.
Okay.
And demons, the 7 deadly sins, were coming out of the gate and trying to like affect the town.
Right.
And the devil was pissed off about this because he likes to keep his demons and his souls in hell, right? Like he doesn't want them running amok. He wants to have control over them, right?
Yeah.
He wanted to help us. And at some point it kind of became clear that we had to defeat each of the demons.
Right.
And then collect their skulls, and then with the skulls we close the gate to hell.
Okay.
This is generally the plan.
Okay.
But still, we don't have all the demon names, we don't have all the skulls. The town is, at this stage, freaking the fuck out. Okay? Right. Like everyone's not turning their back to each other. Everyone's keeping their hand on their gun. If someone walks up behind them, they're like, back the fuck off. You know what I mean? Like, everyone's starting to fucking lose their shit. Start talking about how much ammo do you have? Do you have any holy water? Like, there is holy water, by the way, that people can purchase, and that kind of like helps like exorcise the demons, right?
Right.
I'd collected a fair amount of money, a fair amount of bullets at this point, but just basically asking people. Someone gave me lots of bullets who didn't have a working gun very well. Other people like helped me out with a couple of bullets here and there. Some people helped me out with money. Will gave me some. We pooled our cash and bought some ammo and then shared that. And then what was his name? Mordecai was like, hey, I'll give you some bullets, but your priority is to save me.
Right.
And I go, absolutely. And then I took off 3 bullets and I gave them to Will, and I said, your priority is to keep me alive, okay?
Right.
So it was like this little loop of like trying to keep people alive. Oh, this is the other thing. Taffy, earlier on the day, was like, I'll pay you $20 right now if you promise to follow me through thick and thin and defend me. And I'm already like, fuck this. So I refused that deal. Cause I'm like, hell
you know what kind of thing Callum gets up to.
Like, I'm not like
Callum will make sure he gets way more than $20 worth off you.
Yeah, I said, I'll protect you. And it's like, no, whatever comes. And I'm like, no, whatever? No. You know, anyway.
Yeah.
So, I need to mention a crew member. They played this Southern belle called Lucy Liu.
Right.
And she was a darling, you know, and she had like a little book, and she would write in this book like a little journal. Really great to RP with. And I was talking to her and like, what are you writing in that book? And she's just like, I'm keeping a journal. I'm gonna write up into a book and stuff like this. And I'm like, well, make sure you mention Hennessy Jones in that book, type thing. And I walk away and was like, hold on, what if she's a demon?
Right.
And putting my name in the book is just curse me. Like, this is the thought process that's going through my head, okay?
Right.
She is not a demon.
Right.
She is like an embedded NPC character who is there to help facilitate us as players.
Right.
Try and get direction on what the fuck's happening. She was outrageously good.
Right.
Like, a real good character, a real sweet character, but like really good at just letting helping guide the players so subtly. Like, people didn't know if she was an NPC or a player. Like, really well played. Really, really good. Oh my god. Like, this next shootout. Okay. I'm in the church. I've had to lie down on some of the church pews because my back is just jacked. Okay, like I'm in a huge amount of pain. I actually started off quite a lot of pain in the middle of the day because I didn't sleep well and all that shit. So I was like quite a lot of pain. So I kept lying down. I was talking to the what's his name, the Smith guy, the beaver guy,
Right.
and we're in the church and we're having a chat, and then the town gets attacked. Okay, there's like screaming and yelling, and guys with axes and other weapons start charging through.
Right.
And I'm like, I get up, I pull out both pistols.
Yeah.
Okay. And I just start blasting. Okay, like the poor guy didn't have a chance to put in his ear defenders. He literally, for the entirety of this, just sat in the corner with his fingers in his ears while I'm just. You know how I wanted just to do the bam, bam, bam,
Yeah,
just
walking
blasting
forward,
away, walking
guns.
forward, shooting 2 guns. Again, I got to shoot that same guy with the shoulder-length hair. He came out, and I blasted him a bunch of times. I walk out, and I'm yelling, "My name's Hennessy Jones, and I'm from hell itself!" And I'm like just blasting away. I was so happy I got to fulfill my
Badass.
whatever fantasy is of just being the baddest son of a bitch in the galaxy for like 20, 30 seconds, whatever the fuck it was. I'm just shooting away, and then people are coming around the church, and they're coming from the back of the church, and there's one guy with his Remington rifle, and he's on the ground, he's been wounded, and every time someone comes through the back, he shoots them, and it's like assault on precinct 13, and there's like disparate groups, and everyone's like running away, and I'm like, I reload, and I'm just like, I'm going out there to see if I can find my friends. So I head out there. There's like Ellie and the rest of the crew, and they're like Scooby-Doo crew running around the back of the buildings trying to hide, and I'm like, they were just so fucking adorable. It was really funny, like, to catch them and be like, "What are you doing?" He's just like, "We're okay." Callum, as soon as he saw the baddies like attacking the village, he just went and lied down with his eyes closed like he'd just died. And like everyone was like, "Taffy, you son of a bitch!" Like, and there was nowhere else for other people to hide, so they had to run away. But he just immediately corpsed it and just let everything go past him. Genius. Cowardly characters are amazing.
Oh, dude, yeah,
like,
100%.
Honestly, they're so good. They're much better than brave characters. Cowardly characters are awesome. Like, where can I hide? How do I
the
not
RP
get involved
is
in
insane,
this?
right? And
Really
the interaction between...
If you play it well, right?
Yeah, and also, like, likeably cowardly characters are really fun, right? There's a lot of that, like...
like, you're not stitching other people up, but you're giving so much... You're giving moments...
Oh, it's game. It's like, it's great game.
You just imagine them being what? And they're being like, "Oh, Taffy, you son of a bitch." You know what I mean? Like, just immediately. At this point, the whole town is definitely starting to, like...
fracture and stuff,
How much ammo have we got? What's the fucking plan? We don't have long. What are we going to do? Some people are just like, oh, they've put barricades up earlier in the day at the end of the town now.
Nice.
Everyone's like, how much ammo do we have? Like, we can't last forever. Hey, why don't we just sit down and wait till morning? She's like, I don't think we got time to do that. We got to go and deal with this type thing. And everyone's like chatting. There's this thing that we, for some reason, I can't remember why, but the conversation came up that we need to put wax in our ears for some sort of demon because it sings and we can't hear it. Okay,
Right.
And Johnny, actually, the one of the guys that runs it, walked past me and goes, "Are you waxing your ears or you just start swaying?" And I'm like, "Okay, cool." And then someone yelled at me, going like, "We need people to protect the priests. You got any wax in your ears?" And I'm like, so I grab Antonio and I'm like, "We need to get wax in our ears." And then someone RPs like pouring a candle in our ears.
Nice.
So me and Antonio have like waxed ears and we're acting like we can't hear anything. Sure. And then the sirens show up. Okay, which was a group of NPC players, and a bunch of them were like zombies who just wanted to hug people. Right. A bunch of them were singing like. What's it called where one group singing and then the other group sing offset to that?
Like a quartet, like a barbershop quartet.
Yeah, no, but like
harmony,
where you one group singing their bit, like Farah Jacka. You do it with Farah Jacka. Where you go, you go Farah Jacka, Farah. Then the next group goes, but the next group starts singing off that. Oh, okay. Creating this beautiful soundscape of them singing, right, and like. It was like So this is when I definitely draw out my. One of the times I draw out my big Bowie knife, and I'm trying to hack them away. Okay,
right,
and I keep them away, and they're like, protect the priest, and the priests are trying to do. Throw holy water and do exorcisms, and one by one they're slowly falling. But I had this transcendental moment in this point. You know, it's sometimes in LARP where you're like, oh my god, like it's firelight, like candles everywhere, I'm battling demons, priests are yelling at them and they're falling down, and I'm like trying to keep them away, and I see Antonio and his side trying to battle away, and it's just fucking so intense and so cool. But eventually they managed to fucking get them all down, clear the town of this stuff, and then it's just like, are we clear? And it's like, yeah, you can take the stuff out your ears. And I'm like, what? And then we all end up taking the stuff out of our ears. So good. Actually, the lady that played Lucy Liu actually has a video of it. And I'll ask actually to see if I can borrow it and put it up on the Facebook page, because it shows the crew practicing singing. It gives you a rough idea of how magical this moment was. Weirdly, then Cole gets his tongue back.
Okay.
And this is not a good thing.
Right, yeah, because how...
What does that mean?
Yeah, and how did he do that?
What happened there? Very, very strange. Trust has completely fallen apart in the town. The marshals have declared martial law.
Wow, okay.
There's this weird cavalry versus marshals beef that ends up with guns being drawn.
Wow.
Hennessy walks over and pulls guns on everyone.
Right.
He's got friends on both sides, right? So he just pulls guns on everyone, and like, I'm ready to die. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's a proper Mexican standoff, everyone putting guns to each other. And eventually someone's just like, you know, calms everyone down, put your guns down in 3, 2, 1, and it's like everyone's like a little bit jolty, and then eventually, you know, because they put their gun at Sergeant Cole, and there's no fucking way that's happening. Like, if you shoot, the next bullet's gone in your head. Do you know what I mean? You know. So cavalry versus marshals was fucking crazy. Like, they were not happy. Then they decide that they can do a seance. Again, all of this order, I have no idea. It was very intense at this stage. There's a seance, and they call down that the idea is that if there's a, like the From Dusk to Dawn line, you know, if there's a devil, well, there's got to be a God, right? If there's a hell, there's got to be a heaven. There's just got to be, you know, like. So they decide that they're going to go and call on a higher power, and then what's his name? Mordecai gets possessed by the Archangel Gabriel, right? And the Archangel Gabriel instructs us that someone is going to come and help guide the town towards solution. And part of this is teaching us that there is an order that we need to put the skulls in, and then get Wrath, the demon Wrath, to stand in a certain position, and then do an incantation, and this will close the door to hell.
Right.
Okay.
That's quite an involved plan.
Very involved plan. And, like, bear in mind, we don't even have all the skulls, everything's kicking off, no one trusts each other, like, people are fucking injured, I've been shot in the belly by fucking Taffy, you know, it's like, there's a lot going on in the town. There's also, like, there's other stuff to do with, well, if the demons are bulletproof, right? Why don't we all just shoot each other in the leg, like The Thing, the movie, The Thing, and we just shoot each other in the leg and then figure out who's a demon, who's not, right? This is the state of paranoia and anarchy that's happening in the town. Okay, there was some people got accused of being demons. They all sat down on the chair and like they'd each get exercised, each in turn, and it was all fucking heavy, dude. Like, it was just crazy that people are like, everyone accused everyone else of being demons. None of these people were actual demons. There was like a French guy and he was kicking off. Oh, shout out to the Russian priest. He was ridiculous and amazing. Like, but all of this is like, everything's kicking off at this stage. The town is falling apart mentally. Right. And then these two villagers show up and they're like, hey, there are these camps. Okay? Right. They're near each other, so you need to create two groups and go and attack these camps at the same time, and then you can get the last of the skulls. Okay. And we're like, sweet. So we set up, eventually, there was a lot of buggering about, but we set up into 2 groups and set off into the dark. And our group heads up this hill, and I'm like, in true Antonio style, because he likes to run off by himself, I was like, I'm going to go off into the bushes, right? So I start heading up and doing a little bit of sneaky in the dark. And I can get close enough that I can start to hear the camp, and they're around a campfire. I think one of them saw me and said, what's that over there in the bushes? And he goes, why don't you go look? And I'm like, so I duck off into the bushes and I head back round, and then gun shoot start blasting off. So from behind I go, hey, you behind you, and I just start blasting away, okay? And then obviously they can't really see me where I am because I'm behind them, and then I fired a few shots. They didn't really react, so I wait, and then they realised I hit a couple of them, and they started shooting back, so I went and hid. And then I headed around the back, and I'm like, oh, I've got loads of fucking tokens.
Yeah.
Let's fucking go.
Right.
So I charge into this camp,
right,
thinking that the other team
right
are also breaching at the same time.
Sure.
There was an awful lot of baddies up there.
Right.
So I start blasting away, bam, 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 like trying to shoot these guys. A few of them go down, and then I feel like a stab in my back, and then I go down, and then then there's a fight at the front, and then Marsh Whitaker, by the way, this is all very blurry to me.
Yeah.
He ends up also being injured and lying down next to me, and he's really fucked up and really fucked up and wounded. I've been stabbed in the back once, and I went down, and I was just like, oh fuck. And I'm just like, Marshall, stay down. And I'm like, I pull my guns out again. I'm just like, hey, bum, 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 bum. And then this demon comes up, and he just starts stabbing me over and over again in the chest. I'm trying to stab him, and then he's just like stabbing me, and then I'm like, hey, get off of me. And he's just like, okay, I've taken your dagger, you can't use this anymore, but you're free to go, type thing. I'm like, okay. So I'm like, and I head off out into the trees, and I'm like RPing that I've been like, I'm
badly fucked up, right?
Badly fucked up, like those big old gouts in my chest. I'm like, my lungs been punctured, I'm bleeding really badly, and I'm like stumbling through the woods, and I just collapse on the ground and roll over, and I'm like and then a few people come by, and they're like, who is it? And it's like, oh, it's Hennessy. And then it's just like, and then Sergeant Cole hears I've been wounded, and he comes running over and goes, oh my god. He's like, no, not you, Hennessy, not you. And he's just like, and then the doc comes over, Dr. Matt comes over, and he is trying to treat me. And it's like, it's so intense, and they're trying to save me, and it's really fucking intense. And like I said to Sergeant Cole earlier, he kept asking me like, where are you from, Hennessy? And I'm like, oh, here and there. You know what I mean? There's never a straight answer about Hennessy's past ever, right? And he says, Hennessy Jones, no town, no state in particular. You gotta stay alive. And I'm like, and at this point, I'm like, this is a good moment for Hennessy to die.
Yeah.
Like, this is cool.
Yeah.
So I'm like, and I just stop.
Right.
And they're like, no, and it's really fucking intense, really, really good. And I'm lying there, and they're all grieving and upset. And I'm lying there like, I have probably 2 more tokens left.
Right.
And one thing I did see was, as we walked there, in one of the fort areas, they were setting up this giant amount of pyro.
Right.
And I was like, kind of want to see that pyro go off.
Right.
So I was like, so I lay there, and this is the thing that I had to talk to Johnny about with the rules, because I was like, did I break the rules when I did this? And he was like, no, you played the rules perfectly. So after like a minute or two, just as they're starting to like, I'm just like,
amazing.
And so I was thinking about like, what's Hennessy been up to while he's been dead, right?
Right.
And all I could think was, Hennessy went to heaven.
Right.
So I was going, where the fuck am I? Like, I saw the pearly gates. I heard the angels singing. Jesus, he spoke to me and said he loved me, and I said I loved him too, but my friends are in trouble, I need to head back. And then he said, okay, Hennessy, and then I woke back up again, right?
Yeah.
So Hennessy Jones is like
A true believer, right?
like Hennessy's like, who would have thunk it? Hennessy Jones going to heaven. Like,
Yeah.
this is incredible. Like,
Yeah.
he's born again. He's a revelation that Hennessy Jones, Jesus loves him, and he loves Jesus, and it's like this like incredible moment.
Yeah, dude.
So then we head back. There's another seance. This turns out something happens and evil comes into the church and possesses people.
Right.
And like starts talking to Sergeant Cole, and something happened, but it was a really scary moment where they're asking different questions, and then the demon turns around and just goes to like Sergeant Cole, "Hello, my son," and it's like this horrible moment where you're like, oh my god, and then everyone's like, get out the church, like this is really bad and it's terrible, so everyone got out the church. It's all kicking off.
Right.
We have all the skulls.
Okay.
Apart from the Raph one, where we have to go and find Raph.
Okay.
And deal with Raph.
Okay.
And we know that it's at the fort, and we need to go there. But we also know, this is an OC thing, but a few people have died. And we've had to explain, like, hey, if you die, like, check your card.
Right.
And then it would give you instructions. On these instructions are, like, at the top bit is, like, you're a greed demon, you're protective of your friends, you want to eat all the time, blah, blah, blah. And there was all the different sins represented. I think most of them were. I don't think lust was for obvious reasons. But at the bottom, it says, in the showdown at the end, you will want to die and go to hell, because that's the only way that, like, you do. So they're already demons, effectively.
Right.
So we, as a big group, start walking up. We have to go all the way around. We go across this bridge and then go through Viking and then walking back up the hill. And you can see the fort from a mile away because there are sheets of flame 20 feet up in the air behind the gate wall. Okay?
Wow.
And everyone's heading up there. And Callum said to me, like, because I knew that he had the card, okay? And he was just like, I'm going to shoot Hennessy. And I was like, oh, dude, don't make me miss the fucking big finale. He's like, well, we'll see. And he's just like, no, you son of a bitch.
Classic Callum.
Yeah, classic, right? But he's a fucking sweetheart and cutie pie.
Yeah.
But, like, we're heading up there. We get to the gate. The gate opens, and there's a fucking giant big monster demon that was like a dragon with a big tail that was swinging around and all this shit, and everyone's trying to get through.
Fuck.
And then everyone starts to become demons around us who are like town members who are becoming evil. So there's a big shootout. People are getting stabbed. I shoot this guy down, and then Taffy's like, hey, Hennessy, and he pulls out his pistol, aims it at me, and then goes click. Callum, the little cutie pie, had taken the bullets out of his gun.
Amazing.
Just to make that moment good. And I go, Taffy, you son of a bitch. And I just blast him away type thing. And like, he goes down. Yeah, exactly.
Amazing. That's so good.
So inside the fort, there's demons running around, running amok. Like, and there's like behind the wall of fire, all the crew are like demons in hell watching us.
Amazing.
And there are these guys with masks on who are like priests or monks or whatever, and they're like they've got like horns, and it's like fucking like omen shit, you know, and it's all fucking crazy. And then finally we managed to get all the stones in the right position. Like, people are trying to fight the monster to try and distract it, but finally we get it down. Like, Father Valentine's going ape shit, like it's all kicking off, and then finally we succumb this big demon. Oh, I get stabbed in the back as well, by the way, by one of our own kind. Just imagine, fuck that guy. Yeah. But and then the demon goes down, and then the devil comes out.
Right.
Who is played by Mr. Dubois.
Amazing.
Who is a very, very well dressed person anyway, with wonderful facial hair. But he's got little devil horns on, and the devil comes out, and he's like, bravo, like to all of you type thing. He says, he says, now there is a debt that is to be paid. Could all my children come towards me type thing? And everyone in the town that had died and become a demon has to cross over and go to hell. And it's half the fucking town. Half the town cross and stand behind stand behind the devil. And then like this is where things get fucking bonkers, but like so he calls, now come on my son, and like Sergeant Cole has to go forward, and Sergeant Cole crosses over and is standing there, and then Antonio is like, no, you can't take him, type thing, and then tries to stop Cole from going. Yeah. Then the devil comes up behind him, and as soon as Antonio turns around, the devil just goes and snaps his neck.
What?
And like Antonio goes down, and I'm just like, no, you know, no.
Classic filming, no.
And it was just like, and then Antonio is risen back up and made to stand with everyone else that's going to hell. Wow. And the devil's like, I'll make a deal with you, like, if I'll let these people spend one more night with you, but then they all have to come back in the morning, you know? Like, it's kind of set up. And it's like, hey, devil, I got a deal for you. And he's like, Hennessy Jones, what on earth would you have that you could offer me? And I'll be like, I'll give you my soul right now. And I go, I'm sorry, Cole, but I'll give you my soul in exchange for Antonio. Okay? Yeah. And poor Sergeant Cole, not only does he have to like suffer an eternity in damnation, but like in Hennessy's mind, that was the right call, right?
Yeah.
And the devil's like laughing at me and be like, no, and I'm just like, okay, I'll give you my soul, but you leave the town alone for 500 years. And he goes to me, oh, Hennessy, what is more pleasurable than leaving you here to suffer for the rest of your life?
Right?
And it was like, no.
Oh, man.
And it started off the weekend with Hennessy worrying about the fact that he was going to go to hell and the people he cared about were going to go to heaven. And it ended with the people he cared about most going to hell, and Hennessy knowing that he was going to go to heaven. So the fucking narrative, bitch. That's what the fuck I'm talking about. Outrageous.
That's so
outrageous.
good.
The devil also broke some people's legs who tried to fuck with him, and were generally like, he was amazing. Like, the devil was just so fucking good. So then we go back and we're given the offer to go icy, and we can hang out and like in the town, or we can go OC and like let's hang out in the Viking area.
Sure.
I was exhausted, as was everyone else. I was emotionally spent.
Of course, dude.
Sergeant Cole wanted to do a bit of RP. I didn't see him in time, but I did speak to Antonio, Dr. Mac, and Sergeant Cole afterwards, and we were all like, it was a big old love fest.
Dude,
like
it sounds amazing.
It was. I don't know what it is about those EYELarp games and the players that I got to interact with. Like, I'm interacting with, oh my god, I even missed out like a really me and the Father Valentine.
Right.
After I almost shot Taffy in the church, I was in the bar, and he came up to me and was like, don't take my my politeness for weakness or whatever. And I'm just like. And we just start arguing, and it was like I mentioned before about how when two players know, and we can escalate, and we end up having this screaming match at each other. And it was so good, and it almost came to blows. Like, it was like one of those kind of like really intense things. But like something about those EYELarp games, the qualities of the players, qualities of the game. I feel incredibly privileged to play the game that I got to play with those people. It was fucking incredible. Like, and the narrative that comes out of that, like, who would have thought at the start of the weekend that Hennessy having a revelation that like he was going to go to hell and the people he cared about were going to go to heaven, he wouldn't get to see them, and then the reverse of that, and how it's another fucking tragic end to another tragic weekend for Hennessy Jones. Fucking great. Like, so incredible, so many experiences, and this was just Friday and Saturday. Like, there was no Sunday, wasn't required, couldn't have done Saturday even if I wanted to. I was like spent. I had breakfast the next day, packed up, headed home. Someone had a steps thing on them,
right,
and did 25,000 steps in a day and a half.
Holy shit.
I don't know how many I did. I did a lot. My body was fucking jacked. Like,
Right.
every fucking bone in my body, every muscle in my body had felt like it had been worked. I was just... Monday was a complete fucking write-off. Like, it
Right.
took me days to recover from it. It was amazing.
It's like the intensity of the event sounds insane.
The devil was incredible, especially it being a lawyer being the devil.
Mr. Devois.
Mwah! Mwah! Chef's kiss.
Yeah.
So good. The paranoia in the town, the different characters, how like stress tears the town apart, and how even the end is like, did we win?
Yeah.
Did we win?
He lost half the town.
We lost half the town. Hennessy had his guts ripped out again.
Yeah.
What does this mean for Hennessy? I don't know. I still don't know whether I'm going to have this as a bad dream. I don't know whether none of it counts as canon. I don't know whether I'll turn tangentially off. The tickets for the next normal Flying Ned, went on sale on Wednesday.
Yeah.
They were sold out in 3 minutes and I didn't get a ticket.
I know, dude. It's crazy.
Like, EYELarp is so fucking good.
Yeah.
But they have 50 players and 30 crew, and the limit isn't much higher on how many people they can have on site.
Yeah.
And it's like, man, I'm genuinely bummed out I didn't get a ticket for Flying Lead. Like, genuinely. Like, the whole journey... I love Hennessy Jones. I never play bad guys. Well, Hennessy isn't even a bad guy. Like, really, he's
just a morally grey character, right?
Yeah, but like underneath all of that bad experience and bad attitude and everything, he's actually a deeply loving person who, like, fuck, dude.
Yeah.
Fuck.
Yeah. Dude, it sounds so good.
Like,
it sounds so good.
Hats off to the bartender, basically. Like, it was incredible. I cannot wait for another Flying Ned nightmare. I can't wait for the next Flying Ned. I'm going to be on there at 7:30 on the day, mashing F5 trying to get a ticket. It's incredible. I have tickets for Second Breakfast, which is the
Hobbit thing that's happening.
It's not technically the Hobbit because of trademarking.
Right.
But it is called Second Breakfast, and we do play very small people that like to eat a lot. And that's going to be like no combat. It's going to be like just halflings being halflings.
Sounds a lot of fun,
Sounds amazing. So, hey, I've been really privileged to get the LARPs I can. I'm disappointed I didn't get a ticket, but like at the end of the day, like there are other LARPs, there are other EYELarp events.
You've got loads of exciting stuff coming up,
dude.
I'm going to have to try and do something that isn't Empire at some point. I just have to sort of squeeze it in. But I'm so jealous of your experiences, dude. It sounds amazing.
Would Demon again, 100%. Just incredible. I'm I'm even spent having gone through this episode with you. Like, it's fucking crazy. Yeah. Thank you so much, Ian, for sitting down and listening to me rant for 2 hours. Thank you, listeners, for coming on this little journey with me. Thank you to the crew, players, and the organisers of that event. A deep thank you to our patrons. I know a lot of people are struggling for money, so we really appreciate you supporting the podcast. It does help us out a great deal. And we'll be back soon. I won't say which LARPs we have coming up because a couple of different things that I have planned. And also our Christmas giveaway. Listen to this. We have something being constructed for us that we are going to give away as part of a raffle. Go to our Facebook page, LARP Noobs Facebook page. Follow us on there. There's going to be an amazing fucking prize that's been custom made. It's going to be fucking dope. Come and check that out. And we'll see you all again soon. Love you.
Love you very much. Bye.